So now to bring to you Eyeing La Soufriere morning edition with the good wishes of basic needs, trust fund, facey trading, and the flow. This is how we flow. On the program this morning in studio, Prime Minister Dr. the Honorable Rav E. Gonsalves, and joining us via Zoom, Volcanologist Dr. Christopher Stamos Christopher. Good morning to you, Prime Minister. Good morning to you, Doctor. How are you doing?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, TC.
Morning, sir. Morning, Prime Minister. How are you?
I'm fine. How are things? How are things with you?
I'm fine, sir. I'm quite good.
Have you recovered from your fall?
Yes, sir. I'm doing well.
All right, my brethren. And good morning. Good morning to everybody here at NBC Radio and those who are listening at home and abroad and viewing. It's good to hear you, TC. Thanks.
Yes, sir.
So what's happened over the last 24 hours? Or since Friday, really?
We've not had much activity. The volcano has still been quiet, which is a good thing. I think what we were anticipating were the heavy rains that were forecasted for the weekend, but that did not come together as we thought. But it is raining today right now.
It's raining today?
Yes, sir. I mean, I can't see the volcano at the moment, so there's quite a bit of rain between us and the volcano, and probably on the actual volcano itself.
Yes. I guess we'll get reports as to what is happening in the mountains, and see the results in the rivers.
Well, Prime Minister, if there are any mud flows, we will pick them up on the instruments and we will send the word out that there are mud flows.
Yes.
So people would be aware to stay away from these areas.
But the expectation is that once we have the rains, and I agree with you. At the moment, I came from Old Montrose a short while ago, which, as you know, is just on the outskirts of Kingston, on the road to Leeward, and it is raining. Not heavy downpour, but the whole place is very dark. It's overcast, terribly overcast. So I suspect we'll hear from the meteorologist. We'll hear from Brother Billy. If he's listening, he could probably call in and tell us what is happening, rather than us speculate about the meteorological condition. So how many of you at the moment down at Belmont, the Belmont Observatory?
There's three of us here currently. There's myself. There's Adam Stinton, who came here with me in January.
Yes.
But went back with the helicopter. He spent maybe a week. And there's Elias, who's a seismologist who's based in Trinidad.
Yes.
And he's been here for about 3 weeks now.
And I
So
understand.
he's currently here for us at the moment.
And I understand you have a set worker, someone who did the geology, helping to working along with you all at some point or the other.
Yes, we're trying to integrate a number of volunteers into the monitoring program.
Yes.
And I'm currently training one of them, and hopefully that number should increase. But currently I'm training one of them to collect the gas data.
Yes.
And process it. So that's part of getting them involved, and hopefully that individual, who's actually female,
yes,
I think she's doing a good job, and hopefully she would be able to do that independently.
Yes.
Without me being present.
Well, one of the in this year's estimates for our budget, we had two positions, which were not filled because we couldn't get the persons. The one is for a geoscientist, geophysicist, and the other person is for a mechanical engineer to help with the equipment now, to boost the work which our reliable technicians have been doing. I suspect those persons, those persons would need to come down to the observatory to live.
Well, yeah, I'm guessing that would be on Nemo, because Nemo is the one who's managing that whole situation.
Yes.
But to be fair, the explosions would have ruffled everyone's feathers.
Yes.
So they were on island when the explosion started, so it would have disrupted their lives.
Yes.
Just like anyone else. So I'm fairly certain when things settle a bit with them, they'll turn back up properly in force.
Yes. Yes. But I had thanked you already. I understand that last week, Monday, when you had your day off, you actually called in. The day when you fell, that you called in on your day off to volunteer with Nemo, and you were actually distributing mattresses.
Yes, sir. That was the situation.
And it was raining, and the very day you were distributing mattresses is the very day that Nemo was being taken to task. I have been advised on social media for not distributing mattresses. You know.
Yeah, I've been following the news, so I saw that we're getting a lot of flack over the weekend for that mattress situation.
But it was wholly unreasonable, the criticisms, because people didn't know what was happening, and there's a lot of misinformation that go out. But thank God all that has settled down, and I will talk to some of those things when you're off. So is there anything else which you want to tell us about, or any questions which anybody has to ask JP? TC?
Yes, sir.
I don't know if you have anything else that you want to.
Not at the moment with regards to activity. As I said, the volcano is quiet, which is a good thing.
Has been quiet since April 22nd.
Yes, sir. I think that was the last explosive event we've had.
Yes.
There's been a few minor earthquakes, but nothing of substance.
Okay.
To raise the alarm about. But I remember before the explosion started, when we didn't have much to say, there was some complaint about, we're saying nothing. But I think people need to understand that when it comes to us, no news is actually good news.
Yes.
Because it means there's nothing happening.
I understand that because of the quietude currently, that you think it's advisable that we do Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, unless during any other days in the week that it becomes necessary and desirable for you to speak.
Yeah, I think that would make sense.
Okay.
Given that there is not much happening, and it can probably get a bit monotonous.
Yes.
With not much happening, so I would agree with that.
But still, the advice is that don't go to the red zone.
Yeah, that would be a bad idea to do so, especially when it's raining a lot. I understand the situation with some people and personal property and stuff, and I think it's a hard decision to have them make. But I mean, it can be dangerous going in there, especially if it's raining a bit.
Yes.
So I would advise people to try and not to, as much as possible.
As you know, we issued from the cabinet the decision, and Nemo has issued a statement that everybody in the orange zone can go back, save and except those who are in Chateaubelair and Fitzhugh, because of the amount of ash which is still there, to give some time to clean up the ash.
Yeah.
But because the services of water and electricity are back. Somebody's on the phone? Yeah, we have a call on the phone for you, TC.
Actually, we have a manager of the Met Services here.
Oh, the Met Services, Billy is on.
Good morning,
yes. Good morning, Johnny P. Good morning, Honorable Prime Minister.
Hey, Billy, tell us the story.
Well, basically, what we are having this morning, we're having some low-level clouds moving along. We're having some moderate showers around St. Vincent. So what obviously what we will be getting is lahars and so on as a result. So I was just listening to the conversation, moving in the red zone. Obviously, yeah, it's going to be a bit dangerous.
No, Billy, my brother, from the stations,
Right.
where you don't have to visit, like the one, say for instance, at Rabaka.
Right.
Are there any indications as to how many inches
Yeah.
thus far?
The update basically what we were saying just around half inch of rainfall.
Half inch.
Yeah, that is in 24-hour period.
Okay.
At this station, this station I'm referring to, there's one in the interior Mesco Majorca station, and there's one Jennings. This is closer to Georgetown.
Yes. And both of them record, you say, half an inch?
Yeah, just around there.
What? Okay, so as of the moment, there's no threat of any flood for Kingston unless you get something like 2 inches.
Yeah. Basically, we tend to use just around 50 millimeters as our threshold.
Yes.
But obviously, if the drainage system is not adequately clean,
very good point.
Obviously, it's going to be a lower threshold.
Absolutely good. Yeah. Make sense. Makes sense.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the dangers of the lahars is that even half an inch.
Yeah, it's gonna be less than that because we have been looking at radar estimation, and then obviously seismic would, based on the equipment, they would record, and we have been seeing way less than an inch, and then lahars are being reported.
Less than an inch and lahars are being reported.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So what I want to do also, PM, before I get off, just to note that the month of May typically is like a transition month. We're moving from the dry season to the hurricane season. So
yes.
The expectation is for shower activity to continue as we go forward.
Yes.
That is a very important point.
Okay then, Brother Billy. TC, you would have been hearing.
Yes, Prime Minister.
Yeah, I think that's useful information.
Yes, sir. Very useful.
Yes. Well, thanks very much. Thanks very much, TC.
Yeah, no problem.
Thanks, Brother Billy. Thanks.
All right, have a great day.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, you see, it's very important that people get the reliable information. But what I've discovered, and I'll make this point, I made it before. In the old days, it used to be said, only half jokingly, that if you don't read the newspapers, you are uninformed. And if you read the newspapers, you're misinformed. Now, with the explosion on other media outlets, and radio and TV, and of course the internet, it seems now you have not a lot of education, or a lot of information, but you have a lot of misinformation and even disinformation. Because I noticed over the last week or so, at least on 3 occasions, I spoke to certain matters. And I say at least, there are more, but 3 of them come readily to mind. One of them, the statement which I made that the people, the animal health division of the veterinary division of the government, that they were inspecting canned meats at the point of importation. But there's no confiscation. There's no seizure. You just have to go through a procedure. And remember, all I tried to do was to ask the chief vet to make the procedure more customer friendly. That became that I said that they will be confiscated, when I was saying the opposite. Then Gad Saunders came on, and I asked him the question. I told him that I was informed by the international group with the UN that the water is fit to drink. They did the examination externally, and God confirmed and said that the water is fit to drink. They did the examination locally and internationally, regionally and internationally. Now, somehow that was converted in some circles to mean that I said that you couldn't drink the water. And then last week or thereabouts, sometime last week, I made a comment on the set of allegations which are going about involving Ashel Morgan, Senator Morgan, and the DPP, the assistant DPP. And I said that people must just not believe everything that they're hearing. And there are many outlandish things which have been said. And you mustn't go about and pronouncing people guilty when all you hear is one side of the story. You know that the police have to do the investigation, and they're in an independent way, and they have to send the file to the DPP, and the DPP would make the decision. I don't get involved in those things. Politicians don't get involved in those things. I went on further to say because you had NDP persons already using politics as the basis to bring Ashel Morgan guilty. And I said that, politics is a hell of a thing. If the shoe on the other foot, you'd have a different spin. That what they would have said is that there's violence against women, and that it's good that somebody defending women against violence. I didn't say that is what was my view. I said that is what they would have said, because I know how some of the propagandists operate. But what I just said there, that they would have said, turn around now to say, is I say as that as a defense of Ashel when I'd never said anything of the kind. I didn't issue any defense of anybody. All I was asking, essentially, that everybody be calm and wait on the results of the investigation, because even people who support the ULP, the Constitution protects them too, In the minds of some people, if an allegation is made against somebody from a political side, people go on and jump to the conclusion without anything else and say they are guilty. They must stop it. I don't want them to do it. I don't want our people to do it if it's an allegation against somebody with the on the NDP side. But I know what was already happening in relation to Ashel Morgan. They were bringing her guilty, which is really unfair, and they mustn't do it. The Constitution protects the right, the presumption of innocence for everybody, The Constitution says everybody is presumed innocent until proven guilty. The second thing, you have to have a process, a fair investigative process. And there are rules and laws governing those things. And you must have a fair trial within a reasonable time. These are foundation principles which I've given my entire being for, so I'm not departing from them. And people must listen to what I'm saying. And don't try and put a spin on it. But what happened, you may have a journalist who did sloppy reporting, and then somebody just take it off from them. I noticed that the original story in News 784. I call my brother, who is a good man, Ernesto Cook. I said, listen, if you listen to tape carefully, what you reported is not accurate. He said yes, he would listen to it. Somebody send the tape for him. And he did an amendment. The amendment didn't quite capture what I said. But it was a better representation than what I said, about what I said. But a lot of people took Ernesto's story and ran with it. And Ernesto's original report, as though it's that I was saying I was mounting a defense. I was not mounting a defense. I was pointing towards the hypocrisy of NDP propagandists who are already bringing Ashel guilty on the basis of allegations by one side. And it is unfair to do it, and particularly if she just say, well, listen, may as well I keep quiet until the investigation is over and I get, let me see what happens. And then once that's spun out of control by persons who, first of all, a wrong report, then, other people add embellishments. It's just unfair. This is not a ULP or NDP thing. This is just fundamental rights and freedoms, including the presumption of innocence, including a fair, impartial investigation and judicial decision-making by the DPP. And if their charge is laid, that there be a fair trial within a reasonable time. These are fundamental things. I don't see what is so difficult about speaking to those things. I don't like to see anybody get unfair. A lot of people make allegations against other people which are not true. So what happened? Everybody must be silent about those allegations. The person about whom the allegations are being made may choose for their own purposes or may be advised to not say anything. But it doesn't mean that right-thinking people like myself can't stand up and say, well, listen, don't bring somebody guilty. Give everybody the presumption of innocence. Don't believe everything you hear. Wait. Because when facts do emerge through a particular process, sometimes people are surprised of what they hear. Somebody, I understand, who's supposed to be a sensible person, said that, well, that's what you get when somebody in power for 20 years. What does that have to do with the people electing Ralph for a 5th consecutive term? They do so because they know I don't interfere in these things. Never did, never have, and will never do. I know they're innocent people, particularly people who come from nowhere, quote unquote, as we say in St. Vincent. People who come from the poor and the working people and the peasantry. And people see them with some money by dint of hard work. You know it, Johnny P., everybody in the country know it. A number of malicious people normally say, well, you know what happened? The only way he could have made money that way is if he in drugs. And malicious people begin to talk. I know decent, upstanding citizens. People don't know about what they do, how their finances go, but just simply begin to make allegations which are false. Of course, it is also true that some people make money in an illegal manner. But not everybody who makes money, that you must jump on it and say they make it illegally. It is unfair to such persons. That's why I'm saying just let, in this case, let the investigation be done. And it's being done by the police. The police doing an investigation, the commissioner of police said that publicly. And then when they finish, they'll prepare a file and send it to the director of public prosecution. And the director of public prosecution will make a decision one way or the other. That is her job, not mine. I also ask this, apart from the law as I have just outlined it, and I'm asking mischievous people just to wait. And don't misrepresent what I say. By the way, if I may just say this, the story in Searchlight newspaper was also, the reporter misreported me too. I understand they have corrected it online. The only news outlet that I saw which carried it with reasonable accuracy, not precisely, but with reasonable accuracy, is Eyewitness News, and I wrote Kenton about that. I called him and commended him, and I wrote him about that, and I said, somebody has written an article which you put up, which probably was based on the story which Ernesto Cook had in 784, and their conclusions which were drawn there are erroneous because the factual basis is erroneous. Now, if I misspeak any time, I will say I misspeak, you know. But I didn't misspeak. I wasn't making a defense. I was saying what would have happened if the shoe were on the other foot. Because I'm telling you, it was already happening. I was hearing it, and people are calling me about it. I don't live on Mars. But beyond all that, I always remember the words of Micah, the prophet. What does the Lord require of us? 3 things. To do justly. You hear that word? To do justly. To love mercy. Some translations say to love goodness. And the third one, to walk humbly with our God. To do justly. To love mercy. Love goodness. And to walk humbly with our God. So when I talk on this program or anywhere, I just want you're a journalist. Like people are listening, some journalists are listening now. And they're writing. And while they're writing, they think they're hearing something and they're editorializing as they're writing and reporting the facts, you know. Just, okay, you could do that as a first draft. But NBC, aren't you online? They can't go back and check it? Thank you very much, Johnny P. So just listen it again now. Or listen it twice. If you didn't think you hear good. Because any proper reporter reporting the facts professionally. I'm not saying that the persons who reported it wrongly are unprofessional generally, but in this case, because of the general thrust of all my comments, because that one would have stood out as though it's contrary, should have alerted them, no. Let me look again to hear what he said. Criticize me if you want to say I should not bring the NDP propagandists into it. But don't say what I said that they would have said if the shoe were on the other foot. Everybody knows that to be so. Every other independent person. And Kenton got that part right by putting it in double quotation marks. You know, I don't know how many persons would have seen that. Meaning I wasn't saying it, that is what I am saying myself. I was reporting what would have been said by somebody else. They would have put that spin on it. Now, yesterday was Mother's Day. I'd gotten an invitation on Friday to visit the shelter up at Doris Mackey. All the persons up there actually from Chester Cottage. And the mothers wanted me to come by and have a meal with them. Well, I didn't reach there at 1 o'clock because it was raining. I got there maybe 1:45 or thereabouts. And they invited me to lunch. Well, I had some ital. I had some potato and some peas. But they said they were going to have a 3-course meal. Well, certainly they had 3 sets of meats because they had pork, they had fish, and they had chicken. Real. And I believe you might have been able to have 2 out of those. No, I didn't have any of the meats because I'm watching my meat intake. But I took, because Mother's Day, I took some red wine. I also took, and I did a little toast where I sat down there with them. Everybody, the women, them at the table. And I took non-alcoholic drink also, non-alcoholic beverage. And I don't know who got the very special. I took a top-of-the-line bottle of champagne for them to Moët and Chandon. So it was red wine, champagne, and non-alcoholic, that non-alcoholic grape wine that kind of thing. Yeah. Because Eloise told me that some wouldn't actually drink anything with alcohol now. So we had a good time. Then I left there and went to visit the World Food Program, the 8 shelter, the 8 warehouses on the tarmac, on the top side of the tarmac. And I also visited C.W. Prescott. And I had to rush back home because of something which had to be dealt with there. After C.W., in fact, when I was at C.W. Prescott, I got a call. I want to say that we have a lot of volunteers doing fantastic work. And ordinary citizens. Like, I think some of the food which they supplied some of the food up at Doris Mackey Learning Resource Center was supplied by individuals who cooked and sent in the people up there who managing the shelter, doing a good job. So to down at C.W. Prescott, because I went there, I met Wendy Bino, who by the time I reached down there, it must be 3:30. closer to 4. And she told me that she was there since 6 o'clock in the morning. And the people, in shelter you have this or that complaint, but they all confirmed that she was doing a good job. She is doing the best she can. She was, I told the Ministry, well, not told, I suggested to the Ministry of Education, who are responsible for shelters. I said, listen, there are some people, some teachers who have distinguished themselves in this period. When you all looking at leadership, distinguish themselves in the shelters, in organizing in communities for things to be distributed and the like. I said, when you all submitting names to the Public Service Commission for consideration, for advancement, for promotion, or whatever else, I said, all things being equal, I suggested that persons who have done well in this period, they should get some brownie points. And where all things being equal, to see, it's only fair, because a lot of them putting in a lot of hours. Same thing with some civil servants. Because when people do like what Wendy is doing, and I name her there because she has impressed, really. Of course, I'm impressed with people otherwise, and I don't have to call everybody's names. But when people perform well in these positions, it shows their commitment and it shows their organizational skills, which are important leadership traits. That's why I say all things being equal. The ministry should give brownie points for these kinds of performances. I don't want anybody translate that to me to say that you must only promote those who do well. What I say? All things being equal. People ain't listening to what you're saying a lot of times, and I'm careful in what I'm speaking. Tomorrow, I have to leave here by 10:02 because I have to chair the Finance Committee in Parliament to consider one of the statutory processes where a supplementary appropriation bill or supplementary estimates have to go through, just like an appropriation bill or estimates. And tomorrow, when Parliament meets, the main business is the supplementary appropriation bill and the estimate, the debate. There are other items on the agenda. We may or may not get to them. But I really want us to, it's urgent that we get those things done. I was hoping the opposition would have gotten their papers by Thursday midday, Thursday afternoon, the latest, but they got them from the Ministry of Finance late on Friday afternoon or Friday evening, early Friday evening. But they're not complicated stuff. So we should be in order. And then we have on the order paper tomorrow 16 questions from the opposition. Some of them require some long answers. I have 6 of them. I'm going to try and be short as possible because I want the time to be taken up with the debate itself. Tomorrow also we'll have to pay tribute to panel. because he is a member of the House, first as a senator and then as an elected member. But again, I want to suggest to the clerk, I haven't spoken to the clerk on this, to have just 2 persons from the opposition and 2 persons from the government talk. PR, if everybody who in the House, PR get up and talk, we ain't going to get anything done. And PR would want, while we pay respect to him, he would have wanted us to do the work of the living. While we pay respects to our dearly departed brother. On Saturday evening, I had a 3-hour discussion at the residence by the team from UNEP, their interim findings for the initial cleanup assessment of La Soufriere. UNEP is the United Nations Environmental Program, part of the UN group of agencies working with us. World Food Program is another one. And I had Montgomery Daniel there and his PS Grant, and also Julian and Julian Francis. And the Minister of Finance joined us a little later, as he said he would have. But because the numbers, very, very good advice given. We're supposed to get the final document sometime after Tuesday. And they wanted to brief me on their interim document, but I wouldn't have had time. Last week was a dread week, and this week is, Monday, I'm here, and I'm going to Parliament this morning with the Finance Committee. This afternoon I have a NEMO Emergency Management Council meeting. Tomorrow morning I have to go to Parliament. That's all day into the night. Wednesday I have Cabinet. Thursday is PR funeral. You see what happened to the week already. And other things you just have to squeeze in here and there. But this matter, the report, I had to talk to them before they left, because they're leaving on Tuesday evening, I think. And I wouldn't have had the time, so I put aside the 3 hours or so on Saturday evening from 5 o'clock until about 8 o'clock. And I'll talk about some of this, or at least I'll mention some of it in Parliament on Friday, on Tuesday, except to say that the estimated cost of the cleanup, I'm not talking about people's houses and the like, is $38 million. To be spent this year and next year, most of it for the remainder of this year. It's not an easy thing. Tomorrow, the total recurrent and capital of the supplementary estimate is $100 and something million. And today I want one other item to be added, which I discussed with the Ministry of Finance already. I thought we should do it in these supplementaries and not put it by way of a special warrant. Had to do with the assistance to the one-off payment for the workers down at Bucament now that the sale of those items. Remember, I had made that announcement earlier. They're in my thoughts all the time. They're in my thoughts. And of course, we can do it by a special warrant, but since we're going there now, it's an appropriate time. I asked Camilo to talk to Edmund about it, Edmund Jackson, the Director General, on Saturday night. So I suspect they'll probably include it for the draft for this, for an amendment for this morning. If not, I'm going to persuade I'll try to persuade the Finance Committee for its inclusion rather than do it by way of a special warrant. For persons, I want to repeat, everybody in the orange zone, except those in Chateaubriand and Fitzhugh, should go back. You can go back all now, and some have gone back. Some may have some challenges with their housing and the like. We have to deal with them on a case-by-case basis. But they should go and see what is happening and move back. Support systems are being put in place for even when you move back. Curtis King will talk more about the educational aspects, and so when we want to, they're supposed to give us a list of places where the secondary, the fifth form, and the grade 6 at primary school could go to get 6-8 weeks at least of face-to-face instruction before the exams come up. And then in the red zone, we don't want you to go at all. And if you have to go, seek the permission through NEMO and the police. Well, there's security to stop you going up in the red zone. And remember this, over Rabaca especially, Vinlec has cut off the electricity. The water hasn't been reconnected yet for the red zone because in the northeast, because they haven't sorted out. Well, Gart had said they probably would have sorted out over the next few days, but up to Saturday night, Saturday evening, Gomery told me that it wasn't done. It's not an easy matter. But in relation to the electricity, and I want people to listen to this, Vinlec, I've been advised by Thornley Myers, Chief Executive Officer of Vinlec, switched off the electricity. And the electricity won't be put back to the individual homes until the partnership between Vinlec and the inspectorate, the electrical inspectorate at the Ministry of Works, until they go house to house to see that the houses are fit to be reconnected with electricity, because there would have been some problems. So we don't want people get electrocuted and so on. So that is a process which takes some time. I even told Gomery would have to hire some additional persons to help with the inspections now, technical people, because a lot to be done. I know the electrical inspectorate, they have good people they're working and they like, and Vinlec has some people, and they can work in tandem, but they're likely to need some others. Well, that's the story. I don't know if there's any questions which come in which I could answer, because I want to get out here in another 5-7 minutes in order to get to be there for 9 o'clock at Parliament.
Yes, Prime Minister, there's one question that came in first thing this morning.
Yeah.
Can you kindly ask the Prime Minister if the government will be offering the SET program this year, and if so, when would applications be?
Yes, well, the government would be doing so. We had extended some people because of the persons who are on. In fact, more persons are on because of all the developments which have taken place. And we have to put some money in the supplementary estimates in order to fund for the remainder of the period. I don't know what month. I think this lot probably go down to September, August, September. So it would be another few months for a new batch to come on, because it was the current lot were extended. I could get the precise date from the Cabinet Secretary, because she will know it offhand. But I know it's sometime August, September. Okay?
Another question, Prime Minister. Will Braxa assist in the cleaning up of folks' personal yards, especially in places such as Chateaubriand, restricted from entering, persons restricted from
No,
entering?
what Braxa is doing, Braxa is cleaning the roads, the drains, the river mouths, the alleyways, because the drains is a big number. So to the roads. The persons have to go and clear their own place. But what I'm asking them, don't begin to clear up. I mean, you can go and clear up your roof. Say in Chateau and in as it been happening in Fitzhugh. And when I went there, people were already clearing their roofs. But because we're going to do the road, if you go and clean up your yard, you're going to have stuff coming from the road blowing now. Interestingly, the advice is that the best thing to do is when you're clearing it from the roads is to make it damp so that and people have to be properly protected and so on with the masks, etc. Proper masks and the protection gear. I knew that just like cement, if you put water onto it, it's heavier.
Right.
But I discovered something from the experts. They told me that when the ash is wet, the weight increases 100%. I didn't expect that number. I didn't know that it would double the weight. You know what I mean? But you can see the task which is ahead in the cleanup. Because the drains are in a bad way, not just the roads.
Don't have any more comments at the moment, but if the call was coming, we have to.
Yeah, let me hear the call and then I could go.
You're live on Eyeglass Soufriere. Good morning, edition. Good morning to you. We lost that one. Hello, good morning. You're live on Eyeglass Soufriere.
They're gone.
Yes, 107.5, 90.7
All right.
www.n.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry I can't stay longer, but I don't want to keep my colleagues at Parliament waiting on me, and I have to chair. Thanks.
All right, thank you very much, Prime Minister. You have a great one.